The air inside the docking bazaar was cold. Metal walls shook from distant ship engines, and the neon lights flickered overhead. Aliens of many kinds walked past each other, some tall and glowing, others covered in scales or fur. They wore long coats, tight suits, fine fabrics. Their eyes were sharp, their arms full of items to trade. No one looked at her. Zara stumbled forward, barefoot, her knees shaking. Her arms cradled a small boy, no more than 5. He was silent, his skin pale blue, his cheeks sunken. The child didn't move, only his thin chest rose slowly. She reached the center of the plaza and fell to her knees. "Please," she whispered, but no one stopped. Her voice broke, and she cried louder. "Please, someone feed him. Take my life instead. Just feed my son." A few heads turned. A merchant woman snorted and kept walking. A tall insectoid alien raised a brow ridge, then looked away. Others just stepped around her like she was garbage. Zara trembled. Her dress was torn, dirty, barely covering her. Her long silver hair was tangled. She smelled like the street, like garbage and dust. Her skin showed marks, bruises, signs that she had been mistreated. She didn't care anymore. She placed her child on the cold ground and raised her hands. "Take me," she shouted. "Make me yours. Use me. Break me, I don't care. But please, give him food. He is all I have." Silence. A cold breeze swept through the corridor. The boy let out a weak cough. His eyes fluttered half open. He didn't speak, but he looked at her with silent pain. It crushed her heart. She lowered her hands. She had screamed everything inside her. She had nothing left. Then a shadow moved. Zara blinked. Her vision blurred with tears. A man. Human. He stood tall, with worn-out boots and a simple brown coat. His face was rough but calm. His eyes weren't angry or mocking or cruel. He walked toward her slowly, then knelt beside the child. Zara pulled her son close, her body stiff, ready to protect him, ready to beg again. But the man didn't speak. He removed his coat. He wrapped it gently around the small boy, covering his shivering arms and legs. Then, from his pack, he took out a sealed nutrient bar and placed it in the child's hand. Still no words. Just action. Zara stared. "Why?" she whispered. He finally looked at her and said, "Because no one else did." His voice was calm, deep. There was no demand, no threat. Just kindness. The child opened his eyes. His small fingers gripped the food. He bit into it slowly, like he couldn't believe it was real. Zara watched him eat, her heart racing. The human looked at her again. "Can you walk?" he asked. Zara nodded, slowly. Her body ached, but she could move. He picked up the boy in one arm, strong and careful. "Then come." She stood. Her legs shook. Her hands pressed the coat tighter around her son. They walked together. People watched now, but said nothing. Some were confused, some annoyed. But no one stopped them. Zara followed the man past rows of ships until they reached a small freighter, old, scratched, but working. He opened the hatch. Warm air flowed out. It smelled like spice and oil, but also safety. Inside, lights glowed soft orange. The ship was quiet. He took the boy to a tiny bed tucked in a corner. Clean blankets, fresh water. Then he motioned to a seat for Zara. She sat slowly, arms around herself. "What do you want from me?" she asked. The man poured her a warm drink and handed it to her. "Nothing," he said. She blinked. "Nothing?" He sat across from her, resting his arms on his knees. "You were left to die," he said. "That's wrong." Zara stared into the drink. Her hands trembled. "I thought humans were dangerous," she said. The man gave a small smile. "Some are. So are some of yours." She looked over at her child. He was already sleeping, belly full for the first time in days. Tears rolled down her cheeks. "I offered my life for a bite of food," she whispered. "I know," he said softly, "but you deserve more than that." Zara wiped her face. "Who are you?" He stood, walking to the control panel. Just someone who still believes in helping, he replied. My name's Mason. She looked at him, really looked. He didn't shine like a hero. He didn't have wealth or power. But he did what no one else had done. He saw her, he fed her son, and he didn't ask for anything. Zara leaned back, closing her eyes for the first time in so long. She felt safe, but deep down, she still wondered, was this real, or just another trap? Zara didn't remember falling asleep. When her eyes opened, she was no longer on the cold floor of the market. No neon lights, no shouting aliens, just silence, warmth, and a strange hum. She blinked. Soft bedding surrounded her. Clean, smooth fabric. A low light above gave off a soft orange glow. She looked to her right. Her son Rin was still there, curled beside her, wrapped in a thick blanket. His tiny chest rose and fell slowly, and for the first time in weeks, he looked peaceful. She sat up fast. Panic flashed in her chest. Where were they? Her eyes darted around. Metal walls, bolted furniture. A screen in the corner showed stars drifting by. They were moving on a ship. She swung her feet to the floor. Her body still ached, but her legs held. Her dress had been mended with patches of fabric she didn't recognize. Someone had cleaned her wounds. She spotted the small knife she had hidden under her belt back at the bazaar, now resting neatly on the table beside the bed. Not taken, not thrown away, just placed. She picked it up, hesitated, then left it there. She walked out the room quietly, following the smell of food. Hallway was narrow but clean. Pipes hummed. Lights flickered low. She moved slow, staying close to the wall, until she reached the source. In the ship's kitchen, the human was at work. Mason stood by a stove, stirring something in a metal pot. He wore a dark shirt now, sleeves rolled up. There were oil stains on his pants, tools clipped to his belt. He looked like a worker, not a warrior, just someone used to doing everything himself. He didn't turn, but he spoke. You're awake. Zara stepped into the light. Where are we? Still near the outer ring, he said. Doc's behind us. We're safe. Why did you take us? He stirred the pot a moment longer, then turned to face her. You needed help. She frowned. Plenty of others saw me beg. Yeah, he said, but they kept walking. I didn't. Zara lowered her eyes. She wasn't sure what answer she was hoping for, but his was too simple, too honest. He motioned to a seat at the table. She sat down slowly, still ready to run if she had to. He placed a steaming bowl of soup in front of her. Zara stared. The smell hit her. Hard vegetables, spices, warmth. Her stomach growled loudly. I don't want your food if you're going to ask for something later, she said firmly. I won't, he replied. No favors? No price? He shook his head. Eat, heal, that's it. Zara picked up the spoon with a shaky hand. She took a bite, then another, then another. The soup was simple, but to her, it was heaven. Between mouthfuls, she asked, Are you a trader? Cargo. Pilot, he said. Small runs, nothing big. You live alone? He gave a small nod. Always have. Zara looked at her hands. You're strange. Mason chuckled lightly. You're not the first to say that. She paused, then asked, quietly, Are you one of those humans who collects slaves secretly? Is this all just a nice trick? Mason stopped laughing. His face turned serious. I hate slavers, he said. You're safe here. Zara studied him. His eyes didn't lie. Still, she wasn't ready to trust. She leaned back in the chair and said nothing. After she finished the soup, she rose and walked to the door. You can lock it if you want, she said. Mason blinked. The door? I won't try to escape, she said. I'd understand. He shook his head. You're free here. He walked over, tapped the control panel next to the door. The screen blinked green. No locks. No secrets, he said. Zara looked at him in silence. Good night, he added, then turned back to the kitchen. She stepped away, but before going back to the room, she paused and looked at him one last time. Not once had he touched her. Not once had he stared at her body like the others had. He didn't even ask her name. Maybe he was different. Maybe. Later that night, she woke suddenly. Her son whimpered beside her. Not crying, just soft, scared noises in his sleep. Zara leaned over, whispering gentle words in his ear. Then she heard footsteps. She grabbed her knife. The door slid open slowly, and Mason stood there, holding a folded piece of cloth. I found this in storage, he said. Could fit him better. He placed the tiny shirt gently on a chair near the bed and turned to leave. Wait, Zara said, her voice quiet. He looked back. You didn't even ask my name, she said. I figured you'd tell me when you're ready. She stared at him a moment. Zara, he nodded. Good night, Zara. The door closed behind him. She looked down at her son, then at the folded shirt. For the first time in her life, someone had looked at her with no hunger in their eyes, just kindness. And that scared her more than anything else. Zara lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. The soft hum of the ship surrounded her, calm and steady like a heartbeat. Rin was still sleeping beside her, wrapped in the warm blanket Mason had given them. His tiny breath puffed softly against her arm, but she wasn't resting. She hadn't truly rested in years. Her fingers slowly reached under the pillow, touching the handle of the small knife she'd kept hidden since her capture. Just touching it made her feel in control, safe, or at least less helpless. She sat up, glancing at the door. Still open. No lock, no cameras. Just the hallway beyond, empty and silent. Zara rose quietly. She wrapped her son tighter in the blanket, kissed his forehead, and stepped into the corridor barefoot. The cold metal floor sent a shiver up her legs. Each step was careful. She didn't know what she was looking for. Danger, maybe. A secret room. A hidden cell. Some proof that this human was lying. That he was like all the others who had promised help, only to turn her into something they owned. She passed a locked door marked storage, another labeled tools. Still nothing strange. Then she heard something. Not words, just a sound. Metal clinking. A soft hum. She followed it, turning. Down a small side corridor. At the end, the engine room door stood half open. Inside, Mason knelt on the floor, sleeves rolled up, hands deep inside a panel of wires and glowing coils. A repair drone hovered beside him, blinking red. She stayed back, hidden in the shadows. You're quiet, Mason said without turning. Zara froze. How did you? Cameras? No, he said with a smirk. I just recognize your footsteps. Now Zara stepped into the room slowly, still holding her knife behind her back. You should lock your doors, she said flatly. Why? He asked, standing up and wiping his hands. I've got nothing to hide. She studied him. You're fixing the ship in the middle of the night? It's not a luxury liner, he said. This old bird needs work every few hours. Power coil was sputtering. Zara looked around. There were no cages, no restraints, no signs of a trap. Just wires, tools, parts like any other freighter. She frowned. I thought maybe you were hiding something, she admitted. Mason shrugged. You've got every right to be cautious. Zara stepped closer, letting the knife lower to her side. You left your control panel unlocked, she said. Anyone could send a message, call someone. I trust you, he said simply, her jaw clenched. You don't even know me. I don't need to, he replied. I saw enough when you fell on your knees in front of a crowd that didn't care. Zara said nothing. She looked around again. There were small things she hadn't noticed before. Photos taped near the corner of the engine room. A young Mason, in uniform, standing beside humans and aliens in battle gear. Another image showed a small girl holding a cat. Who is she? Zara asked quietly, pointing to the photo. My niece, he said. Back on Earth. She's beautiful. She was. She died in the plague. Zara lowered her eyes. I'm sorry. Mason nodded, walking over to the engine again. Zara hesitated, then asked, Why did you help us? He paused. Because I failed to help someone once, he said, voice heavy. And I won't fail again. Zara stared at him. For the first time, she felt something crack inside her chest. Not fear, not suspicion, but something warmer, smaller. Trust. It scared her. She turned to leave, but paused at the door. I took a knife with me tonight, she confessed. I figured, Mason replied. You're not afraid I'll use it? He gave a tired smile. You already had the chance. You didn't. She walked back to her room, heart pounding. This man wasn't like the others. Still, part of her didn't know how to handle kindness. It felt like touching fire, too bright, too dangerous. The next morning, Zara awoke to the smell of breakfast. Rin was giggling softly, sitting on a chair beside the table while Mason poured warm syrup over a stack of flat cakes. Zara watched. From the doorway, frozen. It looked like a home, not a prison, not a cell. Just safe. She stepped in. Mason looked up. Morning. She said nothing but nodded. Ryan beamed. Mama, Uncle Mason made sweet bread. Zara's eyes stung. She covered them with her hand. She didn't cry. Not yet, but she smiled for the first time in months. A real smile. And she sat down. Not because she was told to, but because she wanted to. Because for once there were no locks, only doors, and maybe, just maybe, they were open. The stars outside the ship drifted slowly in silence. Zara stood by the small round window in her room, holding a warm cup in both hands. Rin was sleeping again, his small chest rising steady, finally filled with real food, not fear. She should have felt peace, but a knot twisted in her chest. Something was wrong. She didn't know what. But the air felt heavier today. Mason sat in the cockpit, eyes fixed on the glowing screen in front of him. His fingers hovered over the controls as a message flashed. Bounty alert subject. Zara Lee and minor. Wanted for desertion and theft of noble property. Reward 12,000 credits. Dead or alive. He leaned back in the pilot's seat, breathing slowly. He didn't look surprised. He didn't swear. He simply whispered, So they found her. He deleted the message, erased the logs. Then changed course. Later, in the dining bay, Zara entered with a plate in hand. She placed it gently in front of Mason some cooked roots, rehydrated protein, and a soft fruit she had peeled herself. Mason raised an eyebrow. You cooked? I tried, she said shyly. I thought I should do something. It smells great, he smiled. Zara sat across from him, watching him take the first bite. Not poisoned, right? He joked. She smirked, shaking her head. Then her smile faded. She leaned forward. You changed course. Mason paused, then nodded. Why? He chewed a moment before answering. Fuel station near Xerax Prime has patrols. Better to avoid. Zara narrowed her eyes. You're hiding something. Mason looked at her, his face calm. There's a bounty on you. The cup slipped from her hand and hit the table with a soft thud. She stared at him, frozen. Her voice dropped to a whisper. How much? Too much, he said. Enough to make men stupid. Her fingers trembled. You should have handed me over. I didn't. I would have walked out, she said. Told them I forced you. Saved you trouble. I wouldn't let you. Zara stood up. Her breath came faster now. You don't understand. They'll come. They have ships, weapons, tracking tech. They won't stop. Mason stood too, calm but firm. Let them come. She backed away, heart pounding. Why are you doing this? I'm nothing. I'm broken, hunted, worthless. You're a mother, Mason said softly. You're brave, and you deserve a life. Zara shook her head, tears in her eyes. No one has ever said that to me. Well, Mason replied, then it's about time someone did. Later that night, while Rin slept, Zara sat alone in the cargo bay. She stared at the floor, hugging her knees. She had always expected to run. That was survival. Run before they found you. Run before they chained you again. But now, someone was standing for her, and it terrified her. She didn't know how to stay. The soft clank of boots echoed behind her. Mason sat beside her, placing a folded cloth between them. I modified the emergency pod, he said. If something goes wrong, you take Rin and go. Don't wait for me. Zara's head snapped toward him. No, he gave a small smile. Just in case. No, she repeated. I'm not leaving you. You gave us food, shelter, safety. And you never asked for anything. He looked her in the eyes. I didn't save you so you could die with me. She reached forward and grabbed his hand. You saved us, she said. Now I'll stand with you. The next morning, the alarm blared. Mason rushed to the cockpit. On the screen, a patrol ship, sharp and sleek, blocking their path. This is Commander Vesk of the Varnian Bounty Fleet. You are harboring fugitives. Power down your engines and prepare for boarding. Zara stood behind him, breath caught in her throat. They found us. Mason didn't respond. He opened a hidden panel beneath his seat. Zara's eyes widened. Inside, a small black box glowed softly. What is that? Insurance, he said. She stepped closer. Are you planning to fight? Mason's voice was quiet but steady. I'm planning to win. On the screen, the Varnian ship charged its cannons. The voice repeated, This is your final warning. Surrender the alien and the child or be destroyed. Mason turned to Zara. Take Rin. Strap him in the escape pod just in case. Zara didn't move. Mason, go, he said. I need to buy us time. Zara ran dot as she disappeared down the hall. Mason whispered to himself, You want a warship? Let's see if this old freighter still remembers how to bite. He tapped. The glowing black box dot and the lights across the ship turned red. Smoke drifted softly in the cockpit as red warning lights blinked across the control panels. Mason sat still, one hand on the console, the other resting near the emergency trigger. His eyes locked onto the enemy ship floating ahead like a predator. In still water. Final warning, the voice growled again through the coms. Turn over the alien woman and the child. Do this, and you walk away free. He didn't flinch. His voice, calm and low, replied, Not happening. Inside the corridor, Zara froze. She had heard the transmission. She stood just outside the cockpit, holding her son in her arms. Rin slept against her chest, unaware of the storm outside. Zara's body shook. Her stomach twisted with fear. She stepped into the room, her voice hoarse. Mason, please. Let me go. You don't have to die for us. He looked back at her. I'm not letting you go. You don't understand, she shouted. That ship Varnian patrols don't bluff. They'll destroy you. They'll destroy everything. Mason stood and walked over to her, placing his hand gently on Rin's back. I've seen their kind before, he said softly. They only understand force. Zara looked down, her lip trembling. I can go alone, she whispered. I'll lie, say I broke in, that you didn't know. No, Mason. He stepped back and opened a wall panel behind the cockpit. Hidden inside was a long, dark case. Zara's breath caught as he pulled out a worn black rifle sleek. Human-built, scarred from battles past. I'm not just a cargo pilot, he said. Not really. She stared at him. What were you? Mason loaded the weapon. Scout Recon. Earth Fleet. 15 years. You were a soldier? He nodded. I've retired from war. But war hasn't retired from me. Zara strapped Rin into the modified escape pod. It was tight, but warm, and shielded enough to survive a blast. The boy blinked up at her. Half awake. Mama, why are you crying? She kissed his forehead. Because I love you. Are we leaving the nice man? No, she said, voice trembling. We're standing with him. Rin nodded, as if that made perfect sense. Back in the cockpit, Mason flicked switches. Small metallic wings extended from the sides of his freighter, old defense shields that hadn't seen use in years. The enemy ship sent one more warning. You are protecting fugitives. They belong to the lords of Varnes. Their lives are not yours to save. Mason replied without hesitation. Their lives are not yours to take. The screen blinked red. They were charging weapons. Zara rushed into the room, panic rising. They're serious, Mason. He turned to her and handed her a headset. Then let's be serious too. She froze. What am I supposed to do with this? He smiled faintly. Ever fire a turret? She blinked. No. He pointed toward the back of the ship. Now's a good time to learn. Zara had never held a weapon before. Her fingers shook as she slid into the turret seat. The controls glowed, waiting. A targeting display came alive in front of her. Mason? She said into the headset. Breathe, his voice replied. You're just looking for red dots. When they turn green, fire. She exhaled slowly. Okay. Outside, the Varnian ship released 2 hunter drones, small, fast, and deadly. They buzzed toward Mason's ship, ready to cut through the hull. Zara's hands moved. She tracked the first drone, missed the shot. It zipped past, nicking the ship's side. Mama! Rin's voice echoed from the back. Be careful. Zara gritted her teeth and fired again, this time hitting dead center. The drone exploded. In a flash of blue light, Mason whooped in her ear. Nice shot! Zara allowed herself a small grin. Inside the cockpit, Mason focused on the main vessel. It fired 2 blasts, one missed, the other hit the front shields, making the entire ship tremble. He slammed a button. A hidden cannon under the freighter's belly deployed. Come on, he muttered. Remember how to burn. He locked onto the Varnian's left wing and fired. The cannon shot out a pulse, slow but heavy. The enemy shields absorbed it. Barely, but the next pulse hit harder, and then the third. Straight through the wing joint. Sparks burst from the enemy ship as it tilted. Zara's voice came through the comms. We hit them. They're pulling back. Mason smiled. They're scared. He turned toward her turret, feed seeing her with sweat on her forehead, fire in her eyes. You okay? He asked. Zara's voice cracked slightly. I've never been better. Silence returned to the stars. The Varnian ship drifted backward, damaged, but alive. They didn't fire again. A new transmission came through. This time, quieter. This isn't over, human. Mason leaned forward, staring straight into the camera. It is for you. Then he cut the channel. Zara stepped into the cockpit. Her hands still shook. Her knees nearly gave out, but Mason caught her. You didn't give me up, she said softly. He helped her into the seat. You didn't run. They sat together in silence, watching the enemy ship disappear into the distance. Rin's voice echoed. From behind them, innocent and sweet, Uncle Mason. Are we going home now? Zara looked at Mason, and for the first time, she wondered if they already were. Asterisk in the silence that followed the battle. Space felt like it was holding its breath. Zara sat beside Mason in the cockpit. Her hands were still trembling. Not from fear now, but from the strange, rising fire of adrenaline. She had just fought back. For once in her life, she wasn't the one begging. She was the one protecting. Mason leaned back in the pilot's chair, rubbing his neck. They'll return, he said, almost casually. Varnian pride doesn't bruise quietly. Zara looked at him. Then why aren't we running? He gave her a small smile, the kind that told her he already had a plan. Because this ship isn't what it looks like. She frowned. You mean the hidden cannon? He nodded slowly. That, and a few other tricks. The freighter Hollow Star had a reputation in the outer systems. An old cargo hauler, rusted, slow, and harmless. The kind of ship even pirates didn't bother chasing. But that was exactly what Mason had wanted. As he guided Zara down into the lower decks, she saw a side of the ship she never imagined. Behind a sealed hatch marked Waste Recycling was a hallway of military-grade panels. Thick wiring and hidden weapon mounts. Zara stared. "This isn't a freighter," she whispered. Mason nodded. "Not originally. It was a prototype from Earth's Silent Fleet project. Cloaked ships, long-range jump engines, stealth weaponry. But why is it in your hands?" "I found it in a junk orbit. Wiped clean, abandoned." "You rebuilt it?" He tapped a pipe above them. "Took years. But yeah." Zara stepped forward slowly, touching the cold walls. "And now?" He looked at her seriously. "Now it's going to bite back." Mason powered down the main engines out to any scanner nearby. The ship would look dead, drifting, damaged, easy to board. He called it the bait trick. "Won't they notice it's a trap?" Zara asked, nervously checking on Rin. Mason replied, "They think I'm just a dumb pilot who got lucky in a skirmish. Let's keep that lie alive." 2 hours later, the Varnian bounty ship returned. Not alone this time. 3 smaller cruisers flanked it, each fitted with heavy hull claws and EMP cannons. Standard boarding ships used to capture runaways or raid small freighters. From the cockpit window, Zara saw them approaching. "They're going to dock," she whispered. "What now?" Mason pressed a button. A light blinked green beside him. "They'll wish they never stepped inside." Inside the ship's hull, in one of the cargo bays, Mason had set up something no bounty hunter would expect. A zero-gravity trap chamber. When the enemy teams tried to enter through the docking bay, their boots wouldn't stick. Their weapons wouldn't fire straight. And the chamber would seal behind them. They'd float helplessly, and then the gas would come. Non-lethal, sleep-inducing. Fast. It started just as Mason predicted. Docking clamps. Hatch breach. Alien voices shouting commands. "Weapons out. Locate the targets." Mason watched it unfold on the security screens. 3 squads entered his ship, fully armed, armored, cocky. He let them move 10 feet into the trap zone. Then sealed the doors. The gravity shut off. One by one, the aliens spun out of control. Their weapons bumped walls. Their bodies twisted midair. Before they could recover, the mist filled the room. In 60 seconds, they were out cold. Zara stared at the monitor, shocked. "You didn't kill them?" Mason shook his head. "No need. Besides, dead men don't send messages." Back in the cockpit, he opened a direct channel to the lead. "Varnian ship. This time, he didn't wait for them to speak. This is Mason Hawley of Earth," he said, voice hard and cold. 3 of your strike teams are asleep in my bay. Try sending more, and I'll send them back in pieces." The Varnian commander responded, "You are protecting the criminal." Mason leaned closer. "She's a mother, and your kind let her starve. On the street. She stole from a royal house. She stole her freedom. I'd do the same." The alien paused, clearly unsettled. "You think you're scaring us with a freighter?" Mason pressed another button. Outside, from beneath the hull, 3 cylindrical launchers emerged, silent, dark and cold. "They aren't nukes," he said. "They're distortion torpedoes. Won't explode, but one hit can erase a memory core. Or a ship's identity." The Varnian ship's AI screamed a warning. The commander froze. "You wouldn't dare." Mason smirked. "Try me." The alien fleet turned. One by one, they retreated. No shots fired. No more words. They vanished into the stars, outplayed by a human ship they thought was junk. Zara watched it happen in stunned silence. "You planned all of that?" she asked softly. Mason powered down the turrets. "No," he said. "I just prepared for the worst." He turned to her. "But you? You stayed. You faced them." Zara lowered her eyes. I didn't want Rin to grow up watching his mother run. Mason walked over and put a gentle hand on her shoulder. He won't. In the silence that followed, Rin ran into the room and hugged them both. Did we win? He asked. Zara smiled for the first time in days. We're still standing, she said. That's more than I ever dreamed. Asterisk. The stars outside looked softer now, not because they had changed, but because Zara had. For the first time in her life, she wasn't staring at them from behind bars, or from a freezing alley, or through the haze of hunger. She was standing in the ship's front observation deck, holding her son close to her chest, watching the stars not as a prisoner, but as someone finally free. The soft hum of the ship surrounded them, calm and steady. Beneath her feet, the metal floor no longer felt cold. Like home. Behind her, quiet footsteps approached. She didn't turn. She already knew who it was. You're not sleeping? Mason asked. No, she said, her voice warm. Not tonight. He stood beside her, crossing his arms, his gaze fixed on the endless black outside. You could rest, he said. You've earned it. I used to stay awake because I was afraid, she whispered. Now I stay awake, just to feel this peace. Mason didn't answer. He didn't need to. The silence between them wasn't heavy anymore. It was comfortable. After a moment, Zara looked at him. Why did you really do it? She asked. Why risk your life for strangers like us? He gave her that small, tired smile again. I guess I was tired of passing by people who were crying out for help. You didn't know me, she said. You didn't owe me anything. Mason turned to her. You were a mother who refused to give up. That was enough. Zara looked down at Rin. The boy had fallen asleep in her arms again. But this time, he wasn't thin or shaking. He was healthy. His skin was no longer pale. His small body felt heavier now, stronger. She kissed his forehead gently. Do you know what he drew this morning? She asked. Mason raised a brow. What? She reached into her jacket pocket and handed over a folded piece of paper. Mason opened it slowly. It was a drawing, messy, uneven, done with colored ink. But the picture was clear. 3 stick figures holding hands. One tall with messy hair, one smaller with long lines for hair, and one tiny one in the middle. Above them, written in blocky letters, were 3 words. My new family. Mason stared at it for a long time. I didn't ask for this, he said softly. No, Zara replied. But neither did we. She reached for his hand and gently took it in hers. But maybe we all needed it. Over the next few days, things began to change. Zara stopped flinching when doors opened. She stopped waking up in the middle of the night with panic in her eyes. She started singing softly to Rin during morning meals. And Mason, who had lived alone for years, found himself smiling more, talking more, laughing though he denied it. Zara learned the controls of the ship. Mason taught her how to scan nearby systems. She wasn't just a guest anymore. She was crew. And Rin? He followed Mason everywhere, asking questions, touching every button, trying to help with tools he could barely lift. One night, while Mason was repairing a navigation relay, the boy looked up at him and said, Uncle Mason, are you my dad? Now, Mason froze. Then smiled. Something like that, kid. Weeks later, the freighter touched down on a quiet moon colony. No soldiers. No scanners. Just a small human settlement far from any central control. Mason had once visited it years ago and knew it was safe. Zara stepped out first, holding Rin's hand. The air smelled like soil and flowers, things she had forgotten existed. They were offered a room to stay in. Not because they paid, but because they were friends of Mason. And in a place that far from power. That meant something. That night, sitting under real stars, no glass, no ship wall, Zara looked up at the sky. She leaned her head on Mason's shoulder. I still don't know how to repay you, she said quietly. You already did. He replied. How? You survived, he said. You stayed human. Even when everyone tried to take that from you. Zara closed her eyes. I don't think I was strong, she said. I just had Rin. That's what made you strong. He whispered. She looked up at him. Then let me stay, she said. Let us stay. He smiled, soft and true. I never asked you to leave. In the months that followed, they became something new, not bound by blood, but by choice. By kindness. By fire shared in dark places. They traveled together, sometimes delivering supplies, sometimes rescuing those the galaxy had forgotten. Their small ship became a whisper among the outer rings. A rumor. A human ship that helped the helpless. A mother, once broken. A man, once alone. And a boy who grew up knowing that sometimes heroes don't wear armor, they wear old boots and carry quiet hearts. And when the stars looked cold, they opened their door.